Namaskar everyone. It gives us immense pleasure to welcome you all to the Inner Peace Workshop organized by Ramashram Satsang Mathura. Ramashram Satsang Mathura is a non-profit organization that strives to promote peace, harmony and spiritual growth among individuals. The Inner Peace Workshop is a step towards achieving this goal. The workshop will help you explore your inner self and discover the peace that lies within you. Let us start with a brief history of Ramashram Satsang Mathura. On November 3, 1883, a noble soul, Param Sant Dr. Chaturbhut Sahai Ji, was born in the northern Indian province of Etah. He would later become the founder of Ramashram Satsang Mathura. He studied Urdu, Farsi, English, Hindi and Sanskrit. He had a degree in electrohomeopathy and possessed basic knowledge of Ayurveda that he used for selfless social service. Dr. Chaturbhut Sahai Ji, our Guru Maharaj, met Lala Ji Maharaj, his Guru, also known as Dada Guru, during the course of his Ayurveda practice in Fatehgarh. Over the years, their association gradually deepened. During an epidemic, they had the opportunity to spend more time together. Guru Maharaj experienced an indescribable dissemination of intrinsic power towards him whenever he was in the company of Dada Guru. It was during this time that Dada Guru passed on the knowledge of this unique method of meditation to Guru Maharaj. There were no spoken words or scriptures read. There was just a silent transfer of knowledge, reliving the Guru-disciple tradition yet again. Our system of meditation is based on what Guru Maharaj learned from Dada Guru that day. In 1919, Dada Guru directed Guru Maharaj to propagate this system of meditation to as many seekers as possible. Guru Maharaj, upholding the ethics of the Guru Shishya Parampara, followed his Guru's directive in letter and spirit. He dedicated his entire life towards propagating this little-known but unique method of meditation and influenced thousands of spiritual seekers who he came into contact with, without any discrimination based on religion, social, or economic status. Due to Guru Maharaj's efforts and Dada Guru's blessing, the satsang's popularity increased at a fast pace. In 1931, Dada Guru Maharaj personally attended the first spiritual congregation, or Bhandara, organized by Guru Maharaj in Etah, where he used to reside during that time. Let us now explore the origins of Dada Guru, also known as Param Sant Sri Ramachandra Ji Maharaj. He was born in 1873 in Manipuri in northern India. He studied English, Urdu and Farsi and worked as a government official in Farrukhabad. Although as a young man, Lalaji, as he was lovingly called, imbibed religious virtues from his mother, his spiritual journey did not truly begin until he received initiation from a spiritually enlightened man, Maulana Shah Fazl Ahmad Khan Sahib, also known as Hazur Maharaj, a follower of Islam. This great Sufi saint, Hazur Maharaj, took the revolutionary step of imparting spiritual knowledge to a disciple who was not a follower of his own religion, thus exemplifying that spirituality is above and beyond the barriers of religion, caste and creed. He facilitated the enlightenment of Dada Guru Maharaj Ji, thus setting in motion the events that would culminate in the establishment of Ramashram Satsang. The Rs 150 commemorative coin that you see here was released recently, marking the 150th birth anniversary week of Dada Guru Maharaj Ji. It is a tribute to a saint who promoted the evolution of human consciousness, thus rendering a great service to mankind, and with whose blessings Ramashram Satsang Mathura came into being. Let us now introduce some other saints in the Ramashram Satsang family. An epitome of piety, purity and compassion, Jia Ma was spiritually empowered and had been declared spiritually proficient by 3 gurus, Dada Guru Maharaj, Mahatma Raghuveer Dayal Ji and Fakir Maulana Abdul Ghani Khan Sahib. This was unprecedented at that time. For Jia Ma, all followers were her children. She treated everyone in the family with love and compassion and tirelessly attended to the ones who needed help. Pandit Mihilal Ji and Guru Maharaj's eldest son, Dr. Brijendra Kumar Ji, conducted satsang activities under Jia Ma's guardianship. Pandit Mihilal Ji played a very important role and made extensive contributions to the propagation and proliferation of the satsang. The current form of the satsang in India is mainly due to Panditji Maharaj's ardent hard work. He held the important post of the editor of the Sadhan magazine for several years, and his contribution to the satsang literature has been immense. Dr. Brijendra Kumarji worked closely with Panditji in shaping the satsang. Subsequently, several prominent personalities like Hemendra Kumarji and Narendra Kumarji served the satsang and are continuing to do so. One of them is respected Sanjeev Kumarji. Sanjeev Kumarji is a meditation practitioner with over 40 years of experience. He has been facilitating guided meditation sessions in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area and across the US for the last 2 decades. Sanjeev Ji is also the president of Ramashram Satsang Mathura Incorporated. He believes that by following the meditation technique developed by his grandfather, Guru Maharaj Ji, it is possible to reduce the impact of stress, anxiety, and depression that modern life places on the mind and body. He is strongly motivated to make a meaningful impact in people's lives and increase the peace and happiness we can experience day to day by following the peaceful lifestyle promoted by the principles of Satsang. Throughout the workshop, you will be guided by an experienced spiritual leader, Sanjeev Ji, who will help you learn the technique to find inner peace and overcome stress, anxiety, and negative emotions. You will also have the opportunity to interact with other like-minded individuals during the breakout session after the meditation. Here, during the question and answer session, you will be able to ask any questions that you may have after experiencing the meditation session. We believe that inner peace is essential for a fulfilling life, and we hope that this workshop will help you find that peace within yourself. We urge you to approach the workshop with an open mind, be receptive to new ideas and techniques, and participate actively in the session. We wish you a rewarding and enriching experience during the workshop. Thank you for joining us today.
With this inner yoga session. So we will describe what is inner yoga as opposed to Ashtanga yoga or the 8 limbs of yoga. So we talked about that in the morning. So let's first maybe Eddie, if you could talk about the satsang overview, and then we'll come how that relates to inner yoga. Right.
Okay. You will direct your attention towards the screen. You'll see the first element is Satsang. Satsang is a scientific method whereby we may obtain peace, light, and love in this life. It requires no physical skill, spiritual accomplishment, or meditation experience to begin this practice. Satsang consists of 2 words, Sat and Sang. Sat means positive energy, and Sang means to be with or to be in the presence of. Therefore, the word Satsang means to be in the presence of positive energy. The next element is meditation. Meditation is an important element of Satsang. When we meditate, we withdraw consciousness from worldly objects and direct it inwards to focus on a single thought. In doing so, our minds become calm and our thoughts become pure, thereby allowing us to obtain higher states of consciousness, such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. Inner orientation. There are 2 types of Satsang, inner Satsang and outer Satsang. An example of outer Satsang would be chanting or attending pilgrimages. Each time we practice outer Satsang, we have the potential to change our behavior. But it is only through the practice of inner Satsang that we can achieve higher states of consciousness, such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. The Satsang that you will learn today is the inner Satsang, where we meditate in silence. Group session. These weekend workshops are structured for group participation. When we meditate as a group, our focus is improved and our personal progress along our spiritual path is expedited. By regularly attending these weekend workshops, the benefits of group participation are amplified. The last element, joy and inner happiness. All beings wish to experience joy. Joy is the eternal longing of the soul, but only through the practice of inner satsang can we obtain a joyous state. Each time we practice satsang, our inner happiness gradually increases, ultimately culminating in a state of joy, which we experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay, so as I think Eddie was describing, we ought to differentiate between inner satsang and outer satsang. And he said, inner satsang is what we practice here. Outer satsang is chanting and kirtans and even there are mantras that are chanted in a group. So all those would be outer satsang. Similarly, if we look at the 8 limbs of yoga, inner yoga is what is on one side, looking inwards, manifestation, meditation, and higher consciousness. So those are meditative practices. Yam, niyam, asana, and pranayam, which is the physical exercises, the breathing exercises, and the behavior aspects of which are part of these 8 limbs. So Maharishi Patanjali, who basically is one of the oldest fathers of yoga philosophy, described a framework which is made up of 8 elements. 4 of them are supporting elements, 4 of them are meditative elements. And satsang focuses on the meditative elements. So that's the key here. So inner yoga would be the definition, which would take 4 limbs out of these 8. But satsang also in some ways, tackles yam and niyam in its own way. So let's get into that a little bit today. So yam and niyam are basically behavior patterns that we want to acquire, or behavior patterns that we want to give up. So Yuan, if you could bring that yam and niyam slide. So here, so one way Guru Maharaj talked about behavior would be getting better if you practice satsang. Now, in terms of what behaviors you ought to pursue and what behaviors you ought to give up, those are yam and niyam as described in the 8 limbs of yoga by Maharishi Patanjali, who's one of the oldest fathers of yoga. Now, okay, niyam, which is code of conduct or the rules that a yogi needs to live by. So cleanliness and purity, one of the very important, code of conduct. Being content is rather than chasing material things, being happy with what you have, I think is another aspect that yogis ought to have. Doesn't mean that you don't do, your duties and your work, but don't be too tied up with the results and don't go overboard in terms of pursuing material success. That's what I think this talks about, because sometimes we get so caught up that we forget about our health, we forget about our other duties, etc. So being content is another one of those niyams. And then self-discipline. Now, self-discipline is probably one of the most important ones in this entire set. Self-discipline in its purest form is a very, very potent, um, power that one can have. So in English, I think self-discipline probably doesn't do as much justice, but the real word here is sanyam, which is you control your urges, your desires, your um, your you don't get consumed by the uh, the aspects of material world in a way, that discipline that you need to develop, and that's this niyam or code of conduct. So much so that Guru Maharaj's eldest son, who was one of his spiritual heirs, he said that this satsang basically runs on the collective self-discipline. So that's how potent that power can be. It can be, if you control your desires and your ability to create this control within, that you do what you want to do rather than get swayed away. That power can be a transformation. So the other thing is, it's almost like a catch-22. How would you have that discipline if you're not doing meditative practices? So all of these, the reason I'm bringing these up is like cleanliness and purity. To me, satsang is about, inner cleanliness. Being content is a thought process that develops when you become more meditative and more self-centered and more inner self-centered or grounded within. Inner inward orientation helps you. Same thing with this self-discipline. And then comes self-study. So these days, I mean, we study a lot, but how about knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses too, in the sense that, if you knowing the problem is half the solution. So if we know some of our inner, things that we need to fix, once we realize, the chances, again, you have to have the study done within the light, within the guidance that satsang provides, because this is not about pulling yourself down. This is more about pulling yourself up through the So satsang would provide you inner strength. That inner strength will give you the discipline, will give you the ability to study yourself. So swadhyay, which is self-study, is more about learning, again, yam and niyam, what's to be kept up and what's to be given up. And then surrender is another concept which is possibly most misunderstood. So this morning in question and answer session, after the session had wrapped up, I gave the same example that my father used to give about surrender. So when people come here, initially your inner self is like a stone. So if you, put that in cold water, like you attend satsang, you feel cool, you feel better. It's sometimes very refreshing, and but then right after you put the stone back in the sun, and it heats up in no time. So you go back to the world. Your interactions are pretty much the same. You haven't absorbed that positive energy enough. But after pursuing satsang and meditation for a little bit, what happens is it changes to the inner self becomes more like a cotton ball. You put that in cold water, it soaks it up, you put it back in the sun. It takes a little time to dry up and heat up. So that's the second stage, which in satsang comes pretty soon, that you absorb the transcendental energy that we imbibe here. Now, the third stage, which probably is not as easy to get to, but that's when your inner self becomes like salt or sugar. You put that in cold water, and there is no longer, you cannot differentiate water from that sugar that has gone in. To me, that is when limited becomes limitless, or something that the identity is lost in the bigger identity, in the sense of surrender. See, I don't exist, but a bigger or deeper I exists. So that's another code of conduct. Similarly, the yamas, which is like things that are to be given up. So violence, instead of violence, you should have love and compassion, right? So violence has to be given up. Truthfulness, which is like lying, should be given up. Stealing should be given up. Dissipating energy, or that should be given up. And collecting too much of possessions. So instead, love and compassion, truthfulness, not stealing, conserving energy, and non-possession. So all those become the focus. So again, I mean, these are easier said than done. You need inner strength to be able to pursue any of these, forget about all of these. So where do you get that? And that would be through inner satsang, through inner yoga. So let's go back to 8 limbs first. So yam and niyam is just 2 limbs of the overarching yoga framework that Maharishi Patanjali talked about. Asanas and pranayams, physical exercises, breathing exercises are far more common. But if you really look at it, yoga ought to be yoga chitta vritti nirodha, which is, according to Maharishi Patanjali, yoga is when your, not just your conscious mind, but your subconscious or unconscious mind is devoid of thoughts. Even the thought waves, where they start, don't exist any longer. So how do you get there? To get there, you need to follow inner yoga. So these 4 aspects: looking inwards, manifestation, in this case, transcendental energy, meditation, which is the deeper state, and then a state of higher consciousness, which is the result. So, Yuan, let's go to inner yoga. Now let's practice. So inner yoga, as described by Guru Maharaj, emphasizes the 4 limbs of Ashtanga yoga as described by Maharishi Patanjali: inner orientation, concentration or manifestation, meditation and higher consciousness are the focus of the practice that we will do now. So let's do that. Basically, sit in a relaxed posture, eyes lightly closed. The idea is that we stay still and not distract our mind through sensory input through eyes, so eyes lightly closed. And every time the body moves, our mind moves with it. So let's sit in a still and relaxed posture. And now think of this transcendental energy in front of us that's entering our heart, distributing throughout our body, and we are becoming one with this energy. So transcendental energy in form of light is right here, right now with us, and it's entering our heart, distributing throughout our body, and we are becoming one with this light, this energy. Mind will wander away. As soon as we realize that mind has wandered away, just bring it back to this thought and this thought alone, that we are surrounded and are in the presence of this transcendental energy in form of light. The light is entering our heart and then distributing throughout our body, and we are becoming totally immersed in it. Let's start now. So we'll start with music. Music will fade away, then we'll continue the meditation in deep silence, and then we'll transition out with music as well. Let's start now. Right. Happy Saturday, everyone. Alina, Pam, thank you for making this long weekend part of this satsang. So, um, yeah. So, any comments, questions, sharing of thoughts?
Hi, Mr. Kumar.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. I had just one question. I know we're not supposed to focus on any particular form.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess my question is, what ideas can you give as far as what we can focus on for light, or can we focus on a feeling?
No, I think let me try to answer this. I've been thinking about this a little bit. So, you know, as soon as so I think of all forms to be full of this consciousness, right? So, and this consciousness in terms of transcendental energy, you know, somewhere there is this source of energy. So if we connect to that source, um, and we try to manifest this energy, which transcends the world, what Guru Maharaj found was that transforms us in many, many, many ways. So now the question is, then what form should this light be emitting from? And he said it could be any. So I want to write about this and talk a little more about this on the YouTube channel as well. That to me, I respect all religions, and I respect, uh, be it Mother Mary, Christ, Krishna, Buddha. To me, all basically, are, uh, a form that is abundant with this positive, uplifting, transcendental energy. So it's not that, the only thing that Guru Maharaj actually emphasized, that think of the form as energy, real, the consciousness is the key. So does that make sense?
That does.
Right. So, to me, everything is, uh, around us. We're all, once we connect to this energy, that is where we will find, so on one hand, yoga is talking about go to thoughtlessness, because thoughtlessness will bring, living in the present moment will become real, and hence worry and anxiety will not exist, because thought is what takes us to the future or the past. But how do we manifest to that state is, so it's not that you kind of want to blank. I actually met someone once, and this was a while ago, who I could see was not at a very higher state, but he said, I can blank my mind whenever I want. Like, whoa, that is something I can't relate to. And later on, when I was reading, Guru Maharaj's literature again, what I found was that you can. So if we talk about this pyramid and the 5 realms, at the second realm itself, you can blank your mind, and it's called Jad Samadhi, which is like, it's not that conscious, consciousness. It's strange, but true. So there is literature, there is documentation of a state of blanking your mind, but not a state of higher consciousness at the same time, which to me is like, if I want to be in the state of yoga or satsang or, at the thoughtless point, I want to be with that enormously positively uplifting energy only. I don't want to be blanking my mind for, anything lesser. So I want to be very free, yes, but the byproducts of manifesting transcendental energy is that you find yourself energized, refreshed, positive, and I can go on and on with the positive aspects of that. So hope I'm making sense there. So Elena, does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Yeah, what you try to manifest in your meditation matters a lot. And that is where most of the meditations differ. If you take a higher road, it may take a little longer, but that's where you want to be. If you manifest something material, then what's the point? I think is the question here. Because then you will, yes, go a little higher, but then, a lot of the things that you can acquire would not, so we have an opportunity to be, as Guru Maharaj mentions, it's like you can be in the land of peace or the ocean of peace in a state where light, which is knowledge, love, which is the bond with all conscious beings, the light, love, and peace is in such abundance that that is like a real infectious state. That's where I felt that the reason I want to share this with with people through these sessions is excuse me, is because that state that I have seen in real, people have acquired following this practice that I thought was so uncommon, so almost like, actually, I have heard people like, are you really talking about a real person here? So it's that kind of state, you can acquire, and why not? This morning we were talking about peace on demand. There should be, mind, brain, breathing, all these are things that we have, tools that should give us the ability to be at peace, be in complete resonance with nature in the way that, this light, love, and peace becomes, a state which is real. And it can be acquired and it can be done. But again, like any other journey, it's like a journey. And like any other journey, there are so many distractions, unpredictable outcomes, and challenges, etc., etc. Somehow You know, if I was to look at, you know, through the pyramid, those 5 layers, how many people actually go beyond the third realm, fourth and fifth? I would say it's almost like the material world where, what do they say? The 1% have what, 99% of the wealth, something like that. So, you know, spiritual terms also, it's pretty much the same. It's, what should be our natural state is very uncommon, unfortunately. So Pam, any thoughts, comments, questions? On that note, I think let's wrap up. And, you know, happy Saturday to everyone. But yeah, Eddie, would you please give us the wrap-up thoughts so that, you know, till we meet again? Food for thought.
Okay, so today we talked about the things that we should observe and do, and those things that we should avoid doing. And it reminded me of something that Guru Maharaj said. But first I'll say, you know, the yams and the niyams are associated with behavior or mindsets, right? Mostly behavior. And so when we talk about activity in this world, we want our activity to be righteous, you know, to do the right things to do. And when we purify ourselves, that happens. And Guru Maharaj said that the ultimate goal of yoga is to spiritualize our activities, And so when you were talking about yam and niyam, that reminded me of that. And so it's something to keep in the back of our minds, is that what we're trying to do, the ultimate goal of yoga, is to spiritualize the activities that we perform in this world. And that's why we participate in Satsang.
Awesome. Thank you, Eddie. And enjoy the long weekend, everyone. And you know, have a good week ahead. I think we'll, as usual, meet Tuesday, 7 p.m. and then Saturday, 10 a.m. And yeah, June 10th, I think there is a in-person in Bangalore. And then we're going to have a special session June 21st. It's a global online, you know, session dedicated to inner yoga. See you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji.